Okay, in this first section of the video, we're going to do the tests for anions, and the syllabus states that you need to know the test for carbonate, chloride anions, bromide, nitrates, and sulfate anions. So I've got different salts here that contain those ions, and we'll go through the tests one by one. Okay, the first test, anion test that we're going to do is for carbonate anion. So we've got some sodium carbonate. I'm going to put a small sample into a boiling tube. The test for carbonate is just all we need to do is add some dilute acid, and I have some dilute nitric acid here. What the result of the test will be that carbon dioxide is produced when an acid reacts with a metal carbonate. Carbon dioxide is produced. So we're going to put some lime water in a second boiling tube, and we're going to place the delivery tube. The delivery tube will deliver the gas, which will bubble through this lime water if a gas is produced. Okay, so we know this is a carbonate, so this is the positive test for carbonate. So we're going to add some acid, add some more nitric acid. So we produce a whole lot of bubbles, and we're bubbling that through the lime water. If we produce enough bubbles, we should find the lime water start to turn a milky white color, and we will see that it is carbon dioxide being produced. Can you see the milky white precipitate produced, which is confirming that the bubbles of gas produced are carbon dioxide? So we can confirm that in this test tube we have carbonate anions. Okay, so for the next test we have chloride anions. So here I have some calcium chloride. I'm going to add about 2 cubic centimeters of calcium, 2 or 3 cubic centimeters of calcium chloride to a test tube. And in this analysis we need to acidify first with nitric acid. This just will remove any ions that may cause a precipitate like possibly carbonate ions. Okay, so we've added some acid, some nitric acid, and we then add silver nitrate. The silver in the silver nitrate, here's our silver nitrate, the silver in the silver nitrate will form a precipitate, a white precipitate with the chloride ions. So we're watching for the white precipitate. There you can see a white precipitate that is formed with the silver ions. That is a positive test for chloride ions. We use silver nitrate. Next we'll move on to bromide. Same group, also a halogen. Again we're going to add some potassium bromide I have this time. Add some potassium bromide to our test tube. Same procedure, we're going to acidify with nitric acid to remove any carbonate ions that might be there. Okay, no bubbles, so there weren't actually any carbonate ions. And then again, we're going to use the same reagent, silver nitrate, and this time we should see a creamy precipitate forming if there are bromide ions. Okay, slightly different from the precipitate with silver, where you can see a white precipitate. This time it's a creamy, slightly off-white precipitate of silver bromide. The third anion test that we're going to do is the test for sulfate ions. Now this time our salt is a colored salt. It's got iron in it. Iron is a transition metal, and transition metals often form colored compounds. It's not the iron that we're interested for this reaction. We're interested in the sulfate ions. So we're going to add some iron sulfate into there. You can see a slightly yellowy color. And for sulfate, again, we acidify to remove any other anions that might be there, to react with them and remove them. I'm using nitric acid. And then our test for sulfate ions is using barium nitrate. Barium sulfate is an insoluble salt, so if there is sulfate ions in this test tube, the barium will react with them and form a precipitate. So let's, there you go, we form a white precipitate of barium sulfate. Okay, and so there are 3 precipitates: our silver chloride, silver bromide in the middle, and barium sulfate. Those are the tests for 3 of the anions. Okay, the last anion test we're going to do is nitrate. Here we've got zinc nitrate. We are going to add sodium hydroxide, then aluminium, just some aluminium foil, which I have here, and then warm gently. So we're going to add some sodium hydroxide, and then a bit of aluminium foil into that, and what we're expecting then is the production, I'm going to warm it gently, the production of ammonia gas. So this also doubles as the test for ammonia gas. I am just making some damp red litmus paper, and I've got my test tube with nitrate ions, sodium hydroxide. I'm going to gently warm. So nitrate ions add dilute sodium hydroxide, some aluminium foil, and then test for ammonia gas. If ammonia gas is produced, that confirms the presence of nitrate ions in that solution. There's the positive test for ammonia gas.